Hi.
Fine.
Perfect. So first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us for this session on supply chain innovation. Apologies for starting a little bit late. The first session overran, as the first session quite often does. So firstly, I would like to introduce Peter Ochieng from Hashi Energie. He's the managing director. Basically, Peter, Hashi replaced their previous retail site locations, which were your gas stations, which were divested, and you've been using Dukas. Dukas typically played a critical role in Kenya's supply with consumer goods in the country. But can you tell us a little bit about the strategy and how it's performed for you and why you decided to choose it?
Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you, Max. Greetings from Nairobi, Kenya. I think traditionally, if you look at the model that has been used to distribute LPG, it used to be more driven by the brand owners. If you look at 1.5 decades ago, if you needed LPG, you needed to drive, right, to a gas station to get your LPG. But consumers basically now need convenience. And if you look at even the numbers, for those who have gas stations and all doing all the other products, the white products and LPG, you realize that the amount of LPG you sell from stations is much, much less. So the idea of moving over to Dukas was to try and get closer and closer to the end users. And this was just meant to reduce the time it takes you to supply LPG to the kitchens or the end users. And what happened is that you break down your big go down located somewhere in a big city and create small shops which are closer to end users and kitchens. And of course they can be able to, if somebody wants LPG, can be able to walk across to your shop and buy the gas. Alternatively, this acts as collection point for the home delivery to the consumer. So basically, it was just to get closer and closer to the end users, and of course, taking care of the safety. So rather than have a 10,000 square feet go down somewhere in the heart of Nairobi, you are better off having that go down and have smaller Dukas, which are 100 square feet, 200 square feet, nearer to the consumer. And a good case is if you have a gated community, yeah, you would have a small shop there, of course, selling your brand, and two options. The end user can walk across when they need gas, or you can use this as a point to access your end user. So this has worked very well, and I think it's the way the market will shift. And again, it's just driven by the end user being able to get gas faster and conveniently.
Have you seen any difference in terms of demand from the end users who go to your Dukas based on COVID and the economic impact to their disposable incomes?
Yes. I think when COVID-19 came, it was just overnight, and all of a sudden you can't do deliveries. All of a sudden the population is very scared of leaving their homes. There was a pickup in demand, and during the time when COVID-19 came, I think the initial pickup of demand was more so to do with every homestead or kitchen getting scared. They might run out, so they stocked up a little bit. But with these Dukas or these shops next to the end users, it became very, very convenient. I think it was more to make sure that our consumers get our genuine brand, filled by Hashi, rather than get your brand that has been illegally refilled or something. So to answer your question, yes, this did really help our consumers during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's still helping them because the pandemic is still with us.
And you're finding it more effective than retailing through gas stations. It's yes. A success for you.
Yes, if you look at it, and I mentioned it when I started, is that look at a gas station. A gas station could be located somewhere in the middle of a highway. If you look at the nearest homestead, could be a kilometer or two. So what you are telling the end user is that he has to carry the canister or the cylinder and come all the way to the service station. And that has changed. Eh? The consumer wants gas right at the kitchen, or worst case scenario, if you cannot deliver to him in the house, he needs a place where he can easily walk across. So it's much more effective in selling LPG than gas.
No, thank you, Peter. And moving across to Peter Ndiang'ui, if I say that correctly. So Peter, you're a founder with Beba. Beba being, as I read over the weekend, an on-demand e-commerce and delivery platform. So LPG is one of a number of products that you deliver. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about how LPG fits into the supply chain, maybe how it differs from other products, and some of the challenges that you've found in getting LPG and successes, maybe?
Yeah, thank you, Max. So LPG for us is about 65%, 70% of our gross merchandise value, or the entire business. So we actually focus a lot more on it at the moment. And if we look at where it fits, I think Peter has kind of articulated a few things that we've seen very, very relevant to on-demand e-commerce. First of all, the big brands who own the cylinders, what we see, and from the quick surveys we do, they control less than 30% of the tonnage, yet they own 85% of the cylinders. And this is because a lot of their cylinders have gotten into the hands of what we would call the non-cylinder owning refillers. And this is through, this is actually because they were a bit late in understanding that the consumer needs were changing towards the convenience bit, which also Peter has articulated quite well. That you find that because 80% of their business, especially the big brand owners that also sell diesel, their business is largely diesel. And so they optimize a lot on highways in terms of the locations of their point of sale. And so what that has meant is that a lot of customers found it inconvenient to actually reach the point of sale. And at that point, that's when the informal small kiosks started also distributing LPG. And this made them start losing cylinders, also because the small shops would turn back to refill through the guys who don't have cylinders. And this, you look at this relationship, is partly because also they get some form of informal credit. One of the other things that we see again in that value chain, I'm trying to contextualize how we see everything fitting together, is the small shop again represents a more efficient distribution compared to the petrol station. Also, these guys offer again informal credit to customers. Customer walks in there, they don't have enough money to buy the gas, and they probably will say, well, can I pay next week when I get paid? And that results to some form of informal credit. Now, so if you look at how this thing has fitted together, is that the last mile distribution is now in the hands of those smaller shops. Now, when we came in, we started asking ourselves, okay, what is it that the customer is actually looking for? And most of these customers just want the gas delivered to their own house or get it at the next very much closer point of sale. There's a World Bank study of 2016 with Dalberg that shows that every time customers are about 10 kilometers away from the point of sale, they actually start dropping off the fuel. At least 50% was seen to drop using LPG. When they went over 20 kilometers away from the point of sale, again, they completely dropped from the LPG fuel. So what are some of the things we've seen different from the other things that we have on our platform in regards to LPG ways of consumer behavior? Number one is that people only know that the gas has run out when they are cooking. So basically, they were on top of their gas cooker cooking, and then the fuel runs out. That's the only way they know that it's run out. So if you're going to deliver gas to them, they need it in the shortest time possible. It's not even 20 minutes. Actually, a lot of customers, if you say 20 minutes, they have a problem with that because they were already in the middle of cooking. So the turnaround time has to be so fast than any other products that we have on our platform. So that's one key difference. The other one is that the guys that we work with to actually deliver the gas, they find it easier to go and deliver food than to deliver gas. And that's because the cylinder by itself is heavy. And if you look at the urbanizing section of the cities, where people are starting to build vertically in apartments, the guys don't actually want to go up 4 or 5 stairs with 30 kilos of gas on their back. So we have to then make sure that they feel remunerated more because of that planning. The last point is that they have to do a 2-way trip. So if it's food, for example, they want to do a 1-way trip. But when it comes to gas, then they have to do 2-way trip.
Okay. Now, there's quite a few points I'd like to come back on there at once we finish. I mean, just moving on to Aarthi. Welcome. So you're a director at Real Flame. Real Flame. Whereabouts in India are you based at the moment?
India, in Mumbai.
In Mumbai. Okay. Yes. So you supply predominantly cook stoves, and I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about the business model, and how you see the supply chain for that section.
Yes. So it's been few years now we are working in Africa, and since this time we started a lot of change in Africa. When we started, there was only one model of LPG supply, that is the consumer had to go to the shops, to the supermarkets and buy gas cylinders and stoves, and then they have to go to the gas stations to refill the cylinders. What we observed was that even if 80% of East African population is not consuming LPG, that doesn't mean that the entire 80% of the population cannot afford gas. It was also because of the availability and accessibility and safety knowledge. People are still concerned about the safety aspects of LPG. So what we started doing was we started approaching oil companies and government, and we started telling that, and we also started proving them that it's the entire supply chain that has to come together to reach that last mile and to provide accessories that are safe, because in the end it is the accessories that they are using on day-to-day basis. So if they feel that it has to be replaced very often and the cost increases, and then they move back to traditional cooking, which they think was much cheaper, because it's not only the gas which they have to purchase now and then, but it's also the accessories which they have to keep replacing. So yes, that has been what we are working on.
And in terms, obviously working from India, you're exporting your products into East Africa, and I believe you have quite a large East Africa customer base now.
Yes.
How complicated has that been in getting your product to market here?
Well, initially it was difficult, but now when people are seeing the sustainability of the product, when they come to us, they tell us that the product should, what we claim is that our product sustains for 10 years. It gives the lifetime of 10 years, and it also gives 68% of efficiency. We are working with a very highest efficiency available in the market. When I mean 68% of efficiency, when a consumer switches on the gas to cook, so certain amount of gas is wasted and a certain amount is used for cooking. So when they use our product, they use 68% of the gas. So yes, economically, our stoves are much better, and that has helped us to serve better in East Africa. Also, we are working with government of Uganda and government of Kenya, and also we have started supplying in Rwanda now. So we are seeing a drastic change in the demand from the consumer side. Consumers are wanting for a very effective and efficient product now, instead of replacing them from time to time.
No, it's just going back to what Peter was saying, that one of the big problems that his consumers have is they don't know when they're going to run out of gas. And when they run out of gas, they need a replacement immediately. Burners are often, and I know for a fact because it wasn't something that I ever thought about until I started working in the industry, is the efficiency of that burner is actually a key point. If you have a burner that's running at a 50% versus, as you say, you also got 68%, that is a considerable economic advantage. And are people aware of this? Are they educated towards this? It's something that people think about when they go to buy a burner.
Yes. So what we also do is we try to train our consumers. When I mean consumers, consumers are generally oil companies whom we prefer to sell instead of selling it in open market. Because what we say is that our product comes with a lot of safety, and hence it has to be certified, and the oil companies can take care of the quality. They can do the quality approval. So we train our consumers, and in return they train their supply boys, that is the boys who take the cylinders from one house to the other. So in return, they have to be trained because they are the ones who are meeting the end consumers on day-to-day basis. So once they are trained, then the consumers can get more educated about the efficiency of the stove, the safety of the cook stoves, and the benefits of the cook stoves. What we also do is we do a lot of artwork on our boxes that spreads messages about the benefits of the cook stove, rather than just training them verbally, or just writing them down on the manual. We try to spread visual messages on the boxes by doing a lot of creativity.
I was hoping at this point we would have a seamless transition into an image of one of those boxes, but it's failing to be as seamless as brilliant. So a little bit of your art.
Yes, we try to get, and we love working with those boxes, and we are getting very positive response from the market on them. Yes, the numbers are increasing every day, and we are happy about it. And pay-as-you-go technology is what we came across in East Africa, and that really interests us, because we believe like how prepaid systems got evolution and revolution in telecom industry, pay-as-you-go technology can bring a revolution in the LPG industry, especially in East Africa, because systems are being made now, and penetrations are increasing, and that is definitely bringing down the cost, because companies that are selling meters are not charging for the cook stove, so the consumer just have to pay for the gas. So yes.
I think that brings us quite conveniently into our fourth speaker today. And I do want to run this over, so I hope everybody is able to, but I'd like to run it over by at least 10 minutes, because obviously I think everybody has many interesting things to say, but I think it's important to get the message across in terms of how the supply chain is changing. So Volker is CEO of Circle Gas, and Circle Gas are the mother company for M-Gas, which launched in Kenya in, I guess, early 2020. So Volker, could you tell us a little bit about your market entrance and how you see your ability to penetrate what is quite a competitive scene?
Absolutely. Thanks, Max. Good morning, everyone. So Circle Gas and M-Gas, we've got a slightly different business model, and I'll use the word different quite frequently here. So we do employ the latest of digital technologies with old school integrated value chain, with providing a cooking solution rather than just the commodity, and all the way to bringing this cooking solution last yard into our customer's home. Now, our target market is different. We are focusing on those people on low incomes that cannot afford to save up to pay sort of upfront costs of cylinders, of stoves, of the LPG refills, and are thus forced to use harmful, polluting charcoal, paraffin, etc. So that's our key target market. And the way we can unlock that is by, as Aarthi mentions, pay-as-you-go technology. We've got our own proprietary smart meter invented in Africa, developed in Africa, and now we're producing it at scale in our factories in China. And we're leveraging, of course, the M-Pesa, which is now ubiquitous in Africa, mobile money. Without that, we couldn't work. And we're leveraging also Safaricom's latest narrowband IoT technology, which is quite exciting to use the latest technology, focusing not on the elites, but on ordinary citizens. And we're very proud of having Safaricom as an institutional investor, brand partner. It's great to have them on board. The other difference is we are offering LPG on tap to the low-income households, i.e. when you if you join M-Gas, say, in Kenya, then we will provide the refill before it runs out. You will never run out of gas. As you can imagine, it's quite a labor-intensive business because we want to go to people's homes. People's homes are their bedrooms, their kitchens, their living rooms. It'll be our employees that go there. In Kenya, for example, we only launched last year. We're now over 500 people in Kenya, over 600 across the globe. And we were also leveraging digital is with all the various apps to make our work better and the customer experience better, be it customer apps, be it onboarding customers, training customers, safety checks, installing, replacing, geo-mapping, fleet management, staff training, you name it. There are lots of areas where we're leveraging digital to become more efficient. And possibly some of the final comments, our business really relies on going for scale. Scale will drive down logistics costs. The more people we've got in a dense urban area, the cheaper the logistics. And possibly most importantly, scale will drive impact for society. You know, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, be it energy access, reducing poverty, gender equality, health, environment. If we grow massively, then we'll have a massive impact. For now, we're still tiny. We've got about little over 30,000 customers in East Africa, growing very quickly, but we're still tiny. We want to go after a much, much bigger customer base across Africa and beyond.
Thank you. So, look. Your photos seem to be a little bit more seamless than mine. I mean, looking at the photos that we've seen, it clearly is very technologically based. And I imagine with that technology, there's also a bigger cost base. One thing is selling LPG that's sitting in a forecourt of a gas station or a Duca where people come and pick it up. Another step is what we've seen with Beba. They will actually.
Max, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Sorry, Volker, have we lost you? Hi. I can hear you, Volker. I can hear you.
Max, hello.
Yeah. Alfred, we seem to have a technical issue.
Max, hello?
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Bear with me.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you fine, Volker.
Volker, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
So just while we have, I don't think Volker can hear us, although we can hear him.
Sorry, I've got no audio anymore. I hear that you can hear me.
Yeah.
I can still see the pictures there on the technology. Yes, we've got a high technology, high cost system. But the way we handle that is that our customers do not pay up any money up front. It's a pure pay as you go solution.
Okay. You can't hear me, so I'm okay.
Max, I suggest you move away to others at the moment. I can't hear, and otherwise, if you can just text me a question, if there's a question for me, please.
That makes sense. So, Peter at Hashi, how have you seen the change in the dynamics? So now there's clearly a push towards end user supply and companies getting the product actually to the end user's demand. Is that changing the way that you think and the way that the other incumbents in the market have to operate?
Yeah, definitely, Max. And my namesake Peter did say it. But one of the other reasons why we went for this model of putting up Dukas is also to protect our end users, because we realize that even though the brand is strong, we have loyal customers who are buying our product, but not all that product is coming from Hashi. So one of the ways was to come up with these Hashi branded shops near them, where they know and they are run by us. When they access this place, they are able to get genuine Hashi brand. So that's the secondary reason why we did that. Now it has completely changed. As I told you, traditionally, and the people who came up with these shops near us and who took away quite a sizable percentage of our business. Though I must mention that they're doing that illegally, because you're not allowed, to market a brand, Hashi brand, for example, if you do not have an agreement with us, because there are several responsibilities involved by selling Hashi grass. So this has to change. There's one thing of using the government or regulatory authorities to enforce illegal trading in other type of brands, but from the consumer point of view, he needs convenience. He needs to get his gas as soon as possible, near to him as soon as possible. So even as we do the groundwork and working with the government and all regulatory authorities to make sure that we clean up the market, but as the big brand owners, we have to make it more convenient. So the sale of LPG will shift. We have to do what those other, what we call the unauthorized traders were doing. We have to do the same. So in future going forward, selling of LPG will be more driven by the end user or the kitchen convenience. So it's going to change. And if you don't do that, then you'll be out of that business. And that's why you need to make sure that you have, what Hashi we have done is that we have shops. These shops are branded, run by us. On top of that, we have home deliveries being done ex these shops. And we now have an application where the end users can go into the application, Hashi Smile app, order for the gas, and we deliver from these shops. Rather than deliver from your central warehouse, which will take you another 1 hour, 2 hours through the traffic in Nairobi or in those big cities like Kampala or Kigali. When the shop is near the end user, then he is able to pick. Once he sends the orders to a central place, we are able to channel that order to the nearest shop, and in that case, it gets faster to the end user of the kitchen, or they can come and pick it nearer. So to answer your question, yes, the way LPG is going to be marketed in the future, and even as now, has changed and will change, and it will be more driven by convenience for the end user and making sure that we deliver to the kitchens, educate them, make sure that they're receiving safe gas, and also promptly. And lastly, that if they have complaints, they're handled well. Our dream is to make sure that even all those cylinders that have issues are replaced as promptly as possible, and making it generally safer and safer for end users to use the Hashi brand.
And is the business model, is this something where Hashi will try and do something fully integrated, or will you work with companies like Beba to actually manage from the Duca to the retailer?
Yeah, we do have both. We have our own app which we run. We also have partnerships with companies like Beba who help us do the last mile, because at the end of the day, it's about, we're in the business of selling gas. So if you have partners who can make sure that you deliver this as promptly as possible, then we are doing that already.
So, I mean, Peter at Beba, obviously, if you've got the marketers who are effectively where you're your partners in delivery, but they're also doing their own delivery. And a great example, I think, if in the UK was Ocado, which was a supermarket chain, where they were Waitrose's main delivery, but Waitrose basically were effectively crowding them out of the market slowly. How does somebody like Beba survive if if all of your partners are also trying to run their own delivery?
Yeah, actually, we encourage them to also do that, because as Peter said, the key objective here is to sell more gas. We actually find that where we can support is in running the last mile logistics, and not only is the actual logistics to their home, but actually also helping them have a more dense pickup location. Something that we are starting to work on, which is having our own pickup locations, because as Peter might already know, formulating a pickup location and making sure that it's actually profitable and economically viable, the density matters a lot. And so in areas where the density for, say, Hashi might not be as big, then we can complement that by having our own pickup, which is kind of multi-branded. But we ensure that they get the same experience of, one, that they get their cylinders back, because that is the biggest challenge that all the brand owners have, is getting their cylinders back. And that they get to have data on the customers and what the customers are buying. So I think to clean up, because I think that's what I see, to clean up the entire last mile delivery or supply chain in LPG will take concerted efforts of both credible, honest distribution partners that are also digitally focused in thinking about how to drive efficiency at a digital level, as well as the players themselves who own cylinders working together. So I think it's all hands on deck here.
Okay. I have a question from Maggie Mwangi for Peter. So it can be for either Peter, choose. But who caters for the delivery cost? So will Hashi pay for it, or will the customer pay for it? What is the premium significant, or is it subsidized to a certain extent by the marketer?
Yeah, at the moment we're taking up the delivery costs, and it's not substantial, because if you have mapped up your shops very well, it's not a lot of money. So at the moment we take up the cost, But just for record, for example, I think we work with Beba in some of the shops, and in case you have a third party doing delivery for you, then you pay. So in the end, the cost of delivery is shouldered by Hashi in this case.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, Aarthi, I think what having companies like Circle Gas, who are effectively paying for the end user to have a burner and all of the equipment they need, that must make life much easier for you, as you know, you have one client buying in bulk as opposed to having to market to multiple individual consumers.
Sorry, can you come back with the question, Max?
No, I was saying that you know, having companies like Circle Gas who are effectively paying for the full kit to go to the retail customer, it effectively reduces your credit risk. It reduces your marketing costs. You're able to just sell in bulk to one company who are, in effect, rolling out your product. Do you see that as positive or negative? Because on one hand, you have a huge cost saving in getting to market, but on the other, you become reliant on just on a smaller number of consumers.
It is definitely very positive to always collaborate with brands. And in India, our practice has always been collaborating with oil companies like Indian Oil, Bharat Petroleum, and Hindustan Petroleum. So the reach of these brands who are physically present in those countries is much higher than our reach directly in that country. So, and also when the customer gets the entire product under one roof and under one brand, because what we do is not, we do not promote our brand. We customize our product for our customers. So when the consumer finds all their products in one particular brand, they are able to judge on the product more of the quality, more like, you know, on the brand basis. So definitely it's much easier for us to reach out to the brands instead of directly reaching out to the consumers. It gives us a platform which is larger than reaching out to one consumer at once.
Yeah. So I'm being reminded that the break was meant to be at 11, but I'd also like to remind everyone that our panel didn't get their fair allotted time slot. So I'd like to run this on for maybe a couple more minutes, just to wrap up.
Definitely.
And I apologize that Volker had some technical issues. But I do have a question for Volker, if you can hear me now.
I think I can. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfect. Okay,
perfect. Sorry about that, everybody.
No, it's one of those things in our new reality.
Yes.
But you know, how do you see the? We've touched on technical changes. We've touched on trying to get the product to the consumer rather than drag the consumer to the product. From what you've seen in Kenya with your rollout, aside from supply chain efficiencies, what else do you see as being essential for really driving greater penetration into the market?
I think, I mean, I can mirror what both Peters and Aarthi were saying in terms of we'll only succeed if our customers want the product. So really understanding what the customer wants and needs will be absolutely critical here. Now, I guess we are quite fortunate in that we do visit our customers every 6 to 8 weeks, because when we provide the refill, we visit them, we speak to them, we do the safety checks, etc. So we'll have a good understanding of what their requirements are. But this is a consumer customer based product, and everything we're going to do is focused to make the lives for our customers better and more enjoyable and improve their living standards. And so as long as we keep doing that the offer is attractive for our customers, I mean, the market is huge. And
really for anybody on the panel or everybody on the panel, obviously this is all very attractive and it works well in densely populated urban areas. How do you bridge the less populated, more complicated non-urban rural areas where firewood is still and charcoal is still a fuel of choice?
If I start just from our business model, I think we'll struggle with people having the time to search for the firewood, which is for free. If you've got a paid product versus a free product, I think we'll struggle. What we are going to test, though, very shortly is going into peri-urban regions outside of Nairobi to test our logistics and that whole setup, how efficiently we can run that. But as long as people pay for their fuel, we believe that we've got a really cost-competitive solution that is cheaper than running charcoal and paraffin, and is cheaper than if you have to finance your own stove, cylinder, refills, etc. But competing against firewood, I think for our model currently, we'll have to sort of put our brains together and figure out how we'll be able to handle that.
I think in Kenya, what's happening is government is trying to work on subsidies to reach these rural areas. So that's very interesting because until and unless the subsidies are given in rural areas, LPG consumption can be very difficult. And we can take Brazil case study as example. Like, 93% of the Brazil population was using LPG. But in 2001, when the government decided to take out the subsidies, it came down drastically and people started shifting from LPG back to the traditional cooking. So subsidy is going to play a very vital role when it comes to the change of habit in rural areas.
I think it's fair to say that subsidy has been the major driver in most countries that have achieved above 60-70% penetration. Whether we see subsidies in sub-Saharan Africa anytime soon, I think it'll be very interesting when you look at the actual macro economic situation. Budgets are difficult, so finding ways to roll subsidies out will be quite challenging. I think, at least for me, it would be very interesting to see who can actually afford to provide these subsidies without finding a way to fund it through DFI type institutions.
Well, there has to be multiple collaborations that has to be done so that the subsidies can reach out directly to the consumers, and the collaborations has to be with the oil companies, with the logistics companies, with the distributors, and to collect the data, and the subsidies has to reach to the consumer directly, and that is possible only if various collaborations are done. Right now, at present, the systems are not made, and there are many private players who are in the market. When it comes to East Africa, the government has to do collaborations with such private players and make sure that, and even when the government will step in, the availability of the product is going to increase because government has much larger resources that can be pumped into the market.
Sure. Okay. Well, no, thank you. Just to wrap up, because we have run over for the break. For anybody that wants for the third session, please stay on the line. I'm going to start it at 11:25, so 5 minutes extra, which will give it'll give a 10-minute break now. In terms of a very brief summary of what we've discussed, I think the clear point was that there is a push toward trying to move the point of sale to the retailer rather than from a distribution point that the retailer has to travel to improve convenience. That we have, the consumer wants to know how long his gas is going to last, when it will be running out, not for it to just run out, and if it does, he needs a very, very quick replacement. and finding ways to make the gas, and the way that technology has allowed companies to make gas competitive with firewood, at least in terms, well, more competitive than alternative fuels, because you can pay, to quote, as you go, but in small incremental parcels, rather than having to find the upfront cost for a large bottle. So I'd like to thank everybody for their time. Apologize again for starting a little bit late and also running into your break. If anybody is going to be on the next session, please stay online, and we'll pick this up in 10 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, we'll have a 10-minute break, and we'll resume at 11:27 a.m. Kenyan time. 11:27 a.m. Kenyan time.